PFC, Don Jalufka, or as it's pronounced in Czech, Don Jalufka, United States Marine Corps, Korea, the Forgotten War. Folks, this is an extra special broadcast. I just got back from Dallas, Texas, actually Bryan, Texas, and I met a man, one of my heroes. Don, God bless you. Thank you for sharing your story. I got an email from Don about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and he told me he wanted to tell his story. 90 years old. I contacted his daughter, Sandra, and she says that he is battling some health problems in his life, and would I come interview him? So we worked out an arrangement, and I had the great opportunity this last weekend to be with Don and his son Mike, and learn more about his family and his military service. And so I flew from Colorado, where I live, to Dallas, Texas, and then drove 200 miles down to Bryan, Texas. I've worked in Brenham, Washington County, which is only 30 miles away, and I've done a lot of work in Texas. You'll hear it at the beginning of this interview. But anyways, Don was such a warm and welcoming person. I can't thank him and his family enough for welcoming me into their home, into their lives. And we took about 2 hours, and Don told me some of his life story, his military experience in Korea. Don served with the machine gun platoon, 1st Platoon, H Company, Howe Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, 1st Marine Division. As an ammo bearer, he tells some amazing stories. I think he probably could have told a lot more, but I'm not after the blood and guts of war, but what he did share was pretty powerful, folks. By the way, he and his brother both served in Korea, and they were both wounded, which I thought was pretty amazing. And but Don was on Hill 902, and you'll read about that in history. That was a very bloody battle for the Marines. He fought hard, valiantly. His first lieutenant was killed, George Simon Silliman. He received the Navy Cross posthumously, and was trying to get upgraded to the Medal of Honor. But just the action that he took, the valor that he displayed, they're just incredible. Just like on Iwo Jima, uncommon valor was a common virtue, man. But Don tells a great story, and how he came home, transitioned back into civilian life. Like I said, he went in at 16, folks. His mother signed for him. He got in early, and you'll see how young he looks in the pictures after this introduction. But just a tremendous story. One of my unsung heroes of Korea. He's about the age my father would be if he was still alive. And I just love this man. I think you will too. And I'm so happy to share it with you. And I want to thank Sandra Jalufka, for making it possible for you to hear Don's story today. Sandra, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope this story touches your heart and your family, and I know it has touched my heart, and I hope it will reach out to you and touch you, and you can share it as a legacy for your dad and for generations to come. And I particularly love the end of this story. As you will see, your dad was just so great, and he is so great, and I'm praying for his health. He'll get over these health situations, and he'll stay strong in his golden years. But Don worked for NASA for 31 years after the war as a contractor with Lockheed. I have a picture of Don with Neil Armstrong. He knew Neil and Buzz Aldrin and some of the other famous astronauts. Oh, glory days. He was around during the original Mercury, the Saturn, the Gemini launches, and then the Apollo launches leading up to the first man on the moon in 1969. And just an exciting story, folks. And I'm just so happy to be here to share it with you. If you have somebody in your family, YouTube audience, that a loved one who you think should tell their story, reach out to me. I'm here. Lord willing, I'll be here for a while longer, and I'm wanting to help tell your story. So I can't travel everywhere, and I haven't traveled much in the last 4 years, but I'm willing to talk with you about it. So just get a hold of me, and I think it's well worth the effort, and we need to record these stories before they're gone. I've lost most of my World War II and Korean veterans, and if I wouldn't have recorded their stories, they'd be gone, folks. And the Vietnam veterans now, I'm focusing on them. Going back to Phoenix the first of the year, which will be my 21st anniversary when I started my work down there 21 years ago in 2003 with the World War II veterans. I'm going to go back and interview Vietnam veterans and anybody else I can find, but focus on Vietnam veterans. So if you know somebody down there, just have them contact me, and I'll be in the area 1st of January. So folks, I can go on and on and on, but I'm going to get into the story now. And I apologize for the long introduction, but you can tell I'm passionate about my work. I love my veterans, and this is one of my Veterans Day videos. So Don, happy Veterans Day. God bless you. I love you, Don. And just a great, great man. It was such a blessing to be with you this last weekend. So we'll make this a Veterans Day video. And if you'd like to help support my work, folks, there's information like I've shared in the video description of my videos. On my website, larrycappetto.com, you can click on Sponsor a Veteran. And there are comments with every video. The first comment, if you want to donate to my work, you can do so through the comment section of this video. I know a lot of you want to help, and I pray that, maybe you'll be able to do that. So, okay, folks, that's it for now. Share Don's story. Subscribe to this channel. Let's continue. Let's keep it going. Like I said, we're fighting for the same freedoms in our own country that our veterans have fought for. It's time for us to step forward and do what we can. Amen. God bless our men and women that are serving today, and those that are overseas too, and pray for their safety. So it's hard to end a message like this. This is a special presentation, and I just thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again. God bless you. So, in Hollywood, they say, what do they say? Lights, camera, action.
Action.
Okay. Well, we're going to start. I'm excited. I flew down from Colorado yesterday to Dallas last night. I haven't been to Dallas probably for 10 years. I've done a lot of work in Rockwall, Texas. I've worked in Rockwall. I've worked in Brenham, Texas. I was telling your son.
Oh.
I've done work in Atlanta, Texas, which is near Shreveport.
Yeah.
I've worked in Houston. I've worked in, again, the Dallas area, San Angelo, San Antonio, and I've been to Lubbock, where Buddy Holly was born, and became friends with his family, and great people down there. So I've done El Paso too.
Yes.
You're 90 years old.
Yes.
Did you ever think you'd be 90 years old?
No.
So how do you explain that? Time goes too fast, don't you think?
I was kept very busy in life and had a rather busy life, family, work. 31 years and working at NASA, and had a lot of great life experiences.
Did you say NASA?
NASA, yeah. I worked for a contractor, Lockheed Engineering and Space.
Did you work on any of the space shuttles or the flights?
I worked on everything from Mercury on up to the station.
Apollo?
I worked, yes, Apollo and...
Where were you in 1969?
1969 and moon landing. I was at NASA.
Did you have a part to play in that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Mostly communicate.
That's exciting.
I was in the communication section. We worked on a lot of the telemetry information and TV, and TV was one of the main things. In fact, I did manage to talk with Neil Armstrong, and
wow,
about that quality of it, everything. So it was it was very interesting.
That is amazing. I had no idea. That's another lifetime of itself.
It sure was.
I've always been intrigued with time travel. I played in a rock and roll band in the early 80s and the late 70s called the Time Machine, but I want to go back in time with you now. Let's go back to when you were a kid, growing up. Where did you grow up?
First, like I said, my dad died when I was about 4 months old.
And he was a World War I veteran.
He was World War I veteran, and we had I had one sister, one brother, and they during the Depression, it was a pretty hard time with mother, and eventually we were passed around to relatives for mostly in Fayette County, Texas, Czech community, and we went to eventually moved to Galveston, and there went to school and everything, and that's where I joined the Marines.
Did you graduate from high school? Probably not.
No, never went to high school.
Okay, you're 16 and it was 1950.
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear about Korea? Most people don't even know we fought in Korea, but during that, when you were a teenager, did you know about the Korean War?
No, I didn't know anybody that knew anything about Korea. I joined in April
So it hadn't even started.
1950. That was before the war started in late June.
Right. So walk me into this. Why did you become interested in the Marine Corps? And then tell me about going to your mom and dad, or going to your mom and her signing for you. Tell me that story.
Yes, I was a group of us, probably about, I think it's about 5 of us. We'd meet from now and then. And we ended up, I forget where we met one evening, and one of the guys brought up the fact about his uncle. He was in the Marines here, and they were going to go to fly out to California, summer camp for 2 weeks, everything. It was going to be fun. And, well, we thought, hey, that was a good idea. So we all figured we'd join, and that's how we joined. I got my mother to sign the papers for me that I was 17, but I sort of, part of my life, I do regret what I put her through.
Why the Marine Corps, not the Army or the Navy or the Air Force?
Well, this was the only ones there in Galveston was Marine Reserves, and we were going to have some fun going to California for 2 weeks.
So tell me about your first day at boot camp in San Diego.
Well,
or do you remember it?
Yes, I do. It's after the summer camp. Of course, when we landed in, I don't know if it was El Toro or Pendleton, for information, we were told we were, on active duty. Most of us, grinned, yeah, we know that. Well, it ended up, we were told, the officer there, that we're on active duty for an indefinite period. President of the United States is called in the reserves. We arrived California about 5 days after the war started in Korea. So after the 2 weeks, we went back flew back to Galveston, had about 2 weeks there to close the armory and pack up, and we went to, by train then, whole unit, equipment and everything, to first stop was San Diego, where they dropped off a bunch of us that were underage being 17. You had to be 18 to be in combat, so we had to go to boot camp. And of course, first day boot camp, some reason or another, called out formation and started marching. And first thing I heard a drill instructor say, Jalufka, you're a damn feather merchant. Get in step. I didn't realize he was with my brother in Korea. So it was a kind of surprise. But boot camp was rather vigorous training, heavy training, and very disciplined. And me, I try to keep a low profile, stay out of trouble. But
you graduated what month from boot camp? April?
we came out in November.
Oh, November. So Korea had already started.
Oh, yes.
Okay, but did you know Korea was going when you went into the Marines?
No. We went in, I went in April of 1950. The Korean War started in June,
But
late June.
Why did it take till November to graduate? Was there just the story you just told me where you
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. That was, we arrived in, yes, it was really, November was the start of advanced combat training at
Pendleton?
Pendleton, 10 Camp 2.
So every Marine's a rifleman?
Definitely, yes. Except the chaplains and the corpsmen.
Were you taught a lot about World War II history, Iwo Jima, things like that? Did you know about those battles?
Not much.
Okay.
They were rushing. We were being rushed
Okay.
through through the training.
So what was your mindset? What were you thinking? It's November, you're going to graduate from boot camp, and they took that picture you showed me, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you're probably going to Korea, or maybe because you're 16, you felt invincible?
Yeah, by the time I came out of boot camp, I was 18.
Okay.
So we went to 10 Camp 2 at Pendleton and done our advanced combat training. My training was mostly on a BAR. I managed to do pretty good on it. Of course, I was slightly challenged in height and weight, so I got the BAR and did live fire training, going trails and pop-up targets. I did pretty good, but when it comes to stationary firing, I was okay, but the instructor was not satisfied, so I still qualified on the bar. But we also had training and classes on different weapon systems and uses of everything from tanks to flamethrowers and ordnance. So the advanced training was pretty thorough.
So were you scared to go to Korea, or how did you feel about going?
No, didn't think about it. We were kept so busy, we never had time to think that much, but excuse me.
So did you go, were you assigned to a battalion already, or?
No,
Okay.
we was just at the end of combat training. I remember the day we kind of memorable. We were assembled, and on the back of a weapons carrier, there was a major told us we were gonna load up on buses and head down to San Diego, and board the transport and head on. And of course, at the end, the old John Wayne deal of saddle up. And that's when I knew, okay, it's getting serious.
And so you guys are on your way over to Korea.
Yes.
Were there thousands of you, hundreds of you?
At least it was it's well over 1,000 on the ship.
Troop transport ship.
It was the George M. Randall, and we were part of the 6th replacement draft that included that was the contingent. Life on ship was, was all right, but it was rather hectic. There all that many people. And
what do you remember? What month this was? You went to Korea?
yes, we left. We left early February of 1951. We arrived in Kobe, Japan, around the 1st of March, and
so the Chosin Reservoir had already happened.
all of that had happened.
Did you hear about that? Were you hearing any reports?
Oh, yes.
That was a huge bloody battle.
Exactly, and that was the driving force on us to train us as fast as possible as replacements for losses and everything at Chosin.
I had one Korean veteran tell me that everybody either came off that hill on a stretcher or carrying a stretcher.
Yes.
There were so many casualties.
Exactly. It was that was quite a bit there.
So you're going to Korea. Are you going with some of your friends from boot camp and advanced training? Or are you all by yourself? Or
we didn't know anybody. I did meet, of course, our quarters there were, I forget if they were bunks or hammocks. Some were hammocks, some were bunks that's 4 high. And of course, the guy below me and got along with him pretty good.
so you got over to Korea. Probably took you a couple weeks, huh? Or to Japan and then Japan.
From there, from Kobe, got Liberty in Japan. It was kind of depressing to see there's still all the effects of World War II there. And that was on the 1st of March. And by the 4th, we landed in Busan. Also in Japan, we picked up a more military cargo, and it was picked up a group called the Red Devils, which was a artillery outfit of black military, all black, and they were a very sharp outfit, very good reputation.
What was the name of their group? What was
The Red Devils.
the Red Devils? Was there a part of the Marines?
This was Army.
Army.
So
Okay.
Army artillery.
Red Devils. I'll have to look that up.
Right. And we ended up heading to Busan. We picked up our cold weather gear. We boarded trains for a trip up north. And train it's very interesting. It was, there were so many bullet holes, preparation, some large caliber. It was kind of, we knew we were in a war zone. That trip was fairly quick, up about 3 or 4 hours late in the afternoon. We arrived up north, got on trucks for another 3 hours, set up for the evening. And it was far enough north where it was very cold. And I think the area we was close to is where the the Winter Olympics were just recently held in Korea, so in March it was very cold. That night it got down to about minus 20 degrees. It was very cold. And so we thank God for the cold weather gear. But from there we went to, following day we went another 4 or 5 hours. We arrived at our destination. In our case was Howe Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. And introduced to the CO. Our CO at that time for our company was Captain Clarence Corley, and he had a fairly good history about him from the Chosen and from Incheon and so. And I was called in, talked to him. Talking to him, of course, he had trouble pronouncing the name. I gave him the name as Jalufka, yes. And first thing he asked, looked at me and, how old are you? I told him 18, sir. Well, he rolled his eyes. He shook his head. He called in squad leader Don Guard, came in, introduced me to him. He says, he'll be your squad leader. I was put in a machine gun section as an ammo carrier.
So this is March going into April. The first time you were in combat, where were you? What did you encounter?
That was about 4 days later. We went on a company combat patrol, which tank support and everything. And it ended up fairly vicious firefight. Tanks were great, taking out some of the bunkers for us and everything. The flatline fire was something to hold from the tanks. First time seeing that, and made mistake of getting around the tanks for a little cover, that's where all the fire came at you. And while there, some of us realized you don't want to get too close to that tank. They fired at 90. And that was a blast. That left your ears ringing for a while. We did pick up casualties that day and everything. And one of the casualties I noticed was the guy I was on the ship with that was on the bunk below me. And he was sort of an artist, him and his buddies. They put on they done drawing and all that on the back of their dungaree jacket, which was sort of frowned on, but the symbol was a commode, guy standing in the commode and pulling the handle, and the saying is, goodbye, cruel world. Well, coming back after that heavy firefight, come across some of the casualties, and I noticed that on the back of this guy, I noticed that was my buddy, Roy Gomez from Houston. He was the first Marine I seen killed.
How old was he?
He was probably around 18, 19.
Were you with him when he was killed?
I'm sorry?
Were you with him when he was killed?
No.
Okay, you just heard about it?
I seen him passing by. I knew that's who it was.
They were carrying him out?
No, he was on a stretcher with other casualties. He was just on the side of the trail. Noticed him.
That was tough.
Yeah, yes, it was. It's hard to lose somebody, and this was many we did lose.
So walk me into April, and are we jumping ahead, or do you have something between that and Hill 902?
Fighting from that time on into April was fairly steady. We moved day to day. Had a lot of rain. It was times that 3 or 4 days nice, just nonstop. And our problem was just to stay dry. Had to keep extra set of socks, put them under arm or on our clothing to keep dry pair, because trench foot and all of that, that's bad as frostbite when it happens. We did, and also during that time we had mostly Chinese. They were sort of rear guard. They were using the North Koreans to slow us down a little bit. But on clear days, what they did, they burned green wood, pine, and all of that to get a good smoke screen to keep air cover away. And it was a tactic they used. And we worked our way from that into mid-April. Mid-April, we went into 1st Marine Regiment went into reserve. We carried with us, they were on line for about 38 straight days. And so, and not only was the 1st Marines in reserve, 3rd Battalion was in regimental reserve, so we were way back there. And we had engineering support. They put up showers. That's the only shower I got while I was in Korea, and got to wash some clothes. And during that time, we went into some pretty good training, especially on them. Like I did, we did some training on the machine gun. Learned a lot there. We had ended up also doing ordnance check. And what I was carrying up to that time was a carbine, which was World War II vintage. Misfired a lot of times, jammed. I'd take it apart, pull the spring, keep it working a little bit. And of course, that ordnance check, they took one look and threw it in the trash pile and told me to pick up a weapon when I got back to the company. And that was also with our machine gun. It was no World War II vintage M1919. And they did we had problems with that, so we got us, our squad got a new machine gun. It wasn't necessarily new, but it was better than what we had. And we continued fairly heavy training, and we had, we were covered pretty good by, kept abreast things with daily briefings, was going on, and getting word that Chinese forces were 38 parallel, were preparing for a large offensive, and word was that they were at this time after the 1st Marine Division, because this time it will not be chosen reservoir, more or less. This time we will take you out. There's a lot of trash talk coming, but we took it fairly serious. And on the 23rd of April, we boarded buses, trucks. We headed north, and we come across. It took us about 3 hours. Traveled on the way. We've seen a lot of South Korean troops and heading south, civilians. And what it was is one of the South Korean outfits, One Rock Division, sort of collapsed and deserted and left a 2-mile front or on the flank of the 1st Marine Division. And that's why we were being rushed up to that area. And the first place we come, after about 3 hours, we come up on the Mujing Bridge. It's a concrete bridge. It's one of the very few in that area. And as the Puchin River there, and the river's a lot of white water, a lot of snow melt, and banks of the river 10 to 15 feet high. There's no way you get a pontoon bridge or anything across, so that bridge was it. And that was the 38th parallel when we crossed. And time we got to the base of Hill 902, we armored up. We were being told also that the Chinese forces were coming up on the other side of the hill. It was a Hill 902, it was probably close to 4,000 feet high. It was so armoring up, picked up all the gear I was carrying. There was, of course, size field pack with shelter half, ponchos, some sea rations, some extra clothing, socks, things of that nature in pack. Had a trenching tool, had my M1 Garand, two cans of ammo, 250 rounds for the machine gun. They were 20 pounds apiece. Oh, excuse me.
Well, tell me about going up that hill. You mentioned that you guys were smokers and it was hard going up that hill.
We, and also, of course, besides Grand, I had picked up 2 extra bandoliers, plus the belt there. And as we it was really loaded up. I was probably 75 to 85 pounds of gear. And all the riflemen, everybody had to take extra ammunition. The riflemen mostly picked up grenades, and also they were picking up, each had to carry an extra round of 60 millimeter mortar. So it was a trek up that mountain hill, and about halfway, about 10 minutes in, I mean, you feel like your lungs are going to collapse. It was pretty hard. And we about trek up the hill was fairly steep. Had about 4 or 5 hours climbing, and second, about last 30%, it got very steep. It was hard we had to grab rock or brush or anything to try to keep our balance. And we ended up, all along the way, we were being pushed by officers, NCOs that got to keep it going. The adrenaline was really going. And before we halfway up, we had drank all of our water, our canteen of water. We were really exhausted by the time we reached the top. And it was Howe Company that took the lead up the hill. And when we arrived up on the hill, we were totally exhausted, dry heaves and everything, and we were just about out of it then. But we were told to go and move down the ridge. 902 was like a wishbone. You had your regular ridge, and then out the middle, facing north, was another ridge. Howe Company took the left flank, went down, then George Company took over the central ridge, and Item Company took the right flank. And we tried to settle in. We tried to dig in. Also set up position, firing orders. The NCOs were checking all of them in, all the positions, all positions. They would be covered, and try to dig in. It was very hard. It was mostly solid rock. We couldn't hardly dig in, and we were told we were put on 50% alert, and which didn't mean anything. Nobody might have rested a little bit, but that's it. We were told at midnight we would go to 100%, and which was correct. At midnight, it's when it all broke loose. You heard the bugles and the flares and the screaming, heavy mortar hitting us. And we had, at that time, we also started getting some heavy artillery. And we didn't realize at that time, but it was back toward Item Company and back of Item Company. And what they were was a salvo of 155s, short rounds. That caused a lot of casualties over there in that general area, but it was scary to hear that as the sound was getting closer and closer to us. We did not get any of that fire, but the fight was continuous, didn't slow down. We had George Company out there, was really getting worst part of it, being out on that center ridge. And we had some of the Chinese that were breaking through the line, and we had to be careful. All we could do is go by, had flares or gun flashes, things like that, what little light we had before you pick out a target in your own area, so not shooting wrong person. And this continued unabated all night, continuous, non-stop. We ended up, as daylight came around, it started slowing down, and we had a couple of Air Force F-80 jets come by, done a little strafing of the area, and that really slowed everything down. And we were told be prepared to leave the hill. We would go down, and so as day progressed, everything slowed down, and so our casualties, we had probably about 20–25% casualties. So that took everybody I was able, we had to take our wounded, our dead, everything down with us. We had what we had was everybody was carrying either wounded, assisting wounded, carrying the wounded, or the dead. And we were fortunate we had some Chinese prisoners, about a dozen maybe, that also used them as stretcher bearers. But getting off the hill was sort of a problem. We trying to get off, as we trying to get off, the still was catching some small arms fire, which kept everybody off the ridge. Had to get off the side where it was very dangerous movement. And we had one machine gun that was really giving us a bad time, but our mortar section did a good job. Third round took it out. So,
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions here.
yes.
Okay. So tell me about any personal encounters you had with the dead or the wounded. And were you seeing these things or just hearing reports, or were you close to the action all the time?
I was in the middle of the action all the time. And we were hit by 2 Chinese regiments. We were outnumbered probably around 6 or 7 to 1. There was about 800 of us. It was the 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. I don't believe we carried the weapons company with us because it had been too much to carry the heavy weapons. So we were probably around 800. Chinese around 6, 7 thousand of them. And like I say, this was nonstop. It's continuous.
So tell me, did you see men killed, wounded?
Oh, yes.
Were you
Yes.
there to help them, or was this the
Yes,
corpsman's job?
we had, yes. And like George Company was hit so hard, we had to go in and get a lot of the wounded and the people, casualties out while this was going on. And yes, and I did expend some of my ammunition. And but the trek down the hill was rather torturous, carrying all the casualties. Everybody was carrying one way or the other, and
Were you able to help any of the wounded?
oh yes.
So give me a story. Tell me
I know one. Two of us had to help one person. He was kind of had a head wound, but he's still mobile. Carried him a while. Another time I helped carry on a stretcher somebody who's badly wounded. This was about a 4 to 5 hour trip down the hill. And all this time, so we didn't have enough trouble. He's going down the hill. And Howe Company was the last company off the hill, and we're in position there. I just happened to look up, and we started hearing the Corsairs coming in. I looked back, seen one way back there, right above the hill, and got down a little further, looked back a little later, and this guy was a little closer. And he was coming in, and next time I seen him, he's probably about 100, 150 feet above us. And right when he got over me, there was a big bang explosion. He fired a rocket, a smoke device to the front of the column going down the hill, and found out we had our panels out, us nowhere Marines, everything, and of course this guy's buddies, they were lining up, and of course our forward observers, they were screaming bloody murder. They managed to catch them before they did any damage. Some of the men said, yes, they were strafed by these planes. I don't remember that, but so we managed going down the hill. What was so hard, when you going down like a hill like that, very steep, you walk on the back of your heels, lean back to keep your balance, and of course I had a pair of shoes about a half size or more, too big, formed big blisters on my heel. After a while, shoes filled up with water and everything, and but we did manage getting toward the bottom of the hill, probably about 80% down. We had some more Marines coming up, meet us, taking the casualties from us and helping us. They would figure they were from the 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines. And
So Don, how did this change you? I mean, you're a young man, and you're seeing all this death and destruction. How did that change you? Or did it at the time? Maybe it was later.
It just didn't have that much time to think about it. It was, yes, scared, terrified, everything, but you did, we just were driven so hard. We really didn't have the time to concern on a lot of that. And that was just part of that day, because the day before, halfway up the hill, all our water was gone. So we were very, very thirsty. We were dehydrated, everything. And there was spring down at the bottom of the hill, and went down, everybody getting down there to get drink. By the time I got there and getting drink, and about 10, 15 feet upstream from me is a dead horse. Maggots all over it, floating water. Clear the water, just drink. You had to have it. And so thinking a lot of that day was probably over, but across the stream there was a couple of jeeps there. They were asking for people from the 1st platoon. Well, being in the machine gun section, we were attached to the 1st platoon, and we were told to board the jeeps. I know first jeep left, and there was only me and one other guy got on the 2nd jeep. It was about a 5-minute ride up the hill, and it was, I think it was Hill 435, and got there. It was the battalion command post. We were dropped off there, and I was going up. We were offered sea rations, everything. We were asking, we needed ammunition. We were basically out of ammunition. And the reason we were up there was the battalion wanted a platoon or something for security. Hill was secured for them. And as we were starting up, I seen a the platoon leader, first platoon, coming down a hill screaming for people, come on up, move, we have get up the hill as fast as you can. And by that time we started getting mortars, fire, hand grenades, burp gun, everything. It really got started. And Lieutenant, he was going position to position, telling everybody, they sent me and one other guy, we moved over, moved over the left flank to cover. There's already over probably about a dozen Marines up on a hill. And what happened there, the lieutenant was going continually, making sure everybody's position, and a lot of fire going on. And also I heard the term, I hated to hear, was fixed bayonets. We were very short on ammunition. And at that point, you're sitting there, your head's on a swivel, looking around, picking target. We had to be careful of our ammunition. We were low. Pick your targets. Couldn't fire up ahead because we'd be firing into their own troops. So did manage from our position on the left to see some of the Chinese troops, which would take a few, but after a while noticed somebody didn't know at that time, cradling a 30 caliber water-cooled machine gun, tripod, ammo can and everything. Seemed firing some, and time to turn around second time, probably a little bit later, he's seen he was trying to, the gun had jammed. I don't know what, no, he had a belt that was dragging, so that probably helped jam the gun. He was trying to get it unjammed, and about that time, they put a rifle up to his face, killed him. But what was strange at that time, as soon as that happened, everything stopped. The Chinese started, the attack stopped. And all I could hear is screaming, hollering, corpsmen, everybody. We had a lot of casualties. And, but we did clear the hill. And
what was the importance of that hill strategically? Why did you want that hill?
Strategically,
just a high advantage?
Yes, at that point, if they would have broke through that area, they'd have gone straight down to the river and cut the division off. They'd have taken the bridge. Then there has been no way to get back across that river, and that would have been a very serious situation for the division. And the whole battle was that serious that if we did not stop them on Hill 902, could have lost a whole division. And but that was the significance of that. We did stop, few of us there, and next day, or that evening, positions we held, we did get some fire every now and then, kept us 100% alert. It was they moved the battalion, CP, and of course the next day it got wiped out that position they were in. They had casualties, and
Well, Don, tell me, who gave the order to fix bayonets, and were you there?
that was the lieutenant. This was Lieutenant George Sullivan.
Tell me about him getting killed again.
He was, when he was killed, he was cradling a .30 caliber water-cooled tripod, everything. This machine gun was left up on the hill by the rocks. When they deserted, that was left. And so the gun was used in the defense of the hill, but the crew got knocked out. That's when he picked it up and was using it. That's when he was killed. And
Did you see that? Were you there?
yes, I seen that. Yes, I was probably no more than probably about 100 feet away when that happened. And
Did you run over to him when he was shot?
oh no,
No?
no, there were other people there. He was amongst the rest of the group. This was elements of all three Marine platoons of the Howe Company. Elements of it were there. And when we did get in the reserve for a couple of days, we were questioned by some officers from the battalion about the events, everything that happened with Lieutenant Sullivan, and it looked positive. His talk, Congressional Medal of Honor, everything for the action that day did save a lot of lives. And all that time till I guess our second H-31 reunion, I find out he did not get the Medal of Honor. I did some work try to get that done, but
You don't have a picture of him, do you?
there is on. Guess I can pull them up. He
Sometime.
be pulled up on internet. It'll come up with him there.
What's his full name?
George. He was First Lieutenant George Sullivan,
Okay.
and
I'll look
I
that
have
up,
all
too.
the paperwork there
Okay.
from that. And yes, it was an action there that he saved many lives, many, many, many. I'm here. Family, my family, everybody, we're here because of his actions. And probably like me, there's hundreds of people just like me, families, everything. Owe it all to him.
Unsung hero, boy, what a story.
Yes.
Tell me about the young man, the Hawaiian man in your boot camp picture that was killed on 902? Or was he Asian?
Kaleo,
Tell me about that. What happened?
he was going up 902. We had, we were trying to get artillery support. And just about all the artillery was Army. And Kaleo had a injured, a sprained foot, or so he had trouble getting up the hill, so he stayed behind. And forward observers, they called in for a test fire, see set their range or whatever. And it was 105s, and when they fired, that's Kaleo was down the hill. That's where the round ended up. it took him out. And yes, he's one of many of us.
Were you there when it happened?
Oh no, we were already up just about up on Hill 902.
There was another gentleman in the picture you said died in 902. Do you remember who that was? Well, if you don't remember, well, that's fine.
Right now, let me see. Yes,
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
yeah.
I want you to do something for me. Can you define combat?
No, I cannot. You have to live it. You have to experience it. The smell, the noise, the fear. It's, can I put it to words?
When you came home, did you talk to anybody about this?
No.
How long was it before you talked about it?
About 60 years later or more.
Have you ever done an interview like this?
No, never.
So this is important for many reasons. For your family, for history. They call it the Forgotten War. Why do you think it's called a Forgotten War?
Well, it's considered sort of, I guess, an extension of World War II, probably, because war in the Pacific in World War II cost a lot of blood, treasure, everything, and that was strictly under our influence then, country, United States. Everything there was of our interest, and so it was not treaty that got us in war, more or less. It was under UN, which that sort of divided it also.
Mm-hmm.
But forgotten, no.
Mm-hmm, no. Well, we lost almost as many people in Korea in 3 years that we did in Vietnam in 10 years.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Have you ever been to Washington, D.C., the wall, the
No.
Korean War Memorial?
No.
No. It's something else.
And I have a list here somewhere of our killed in actions of Korea.
Mm-hmm.
I think the company had over 120 killed over a 3-year period just in our company.
Mm-hmm.
Company was 220 people at any one time. Yes, we had replacements and all of that. So company lost a lot of, we lost a lot of people.
I want you to talk about your brother and you. Now, you were wounded at the same time?
No, my brother came in during the Pusan perimeter, the first early part of the war, and he was Able Company, 5th Marines. They were some of the first combat with the North Koreans, and a lot of this was covered by the photographer David Douglas Duncan. Had a lot of photographs there, and I'm sure my brother was in some of it, and but it was he was wounded badly. Grenade got him mostly, and most of inside his legs, his thighs, mostly taken out down to the bone, and had a knee taken out by a rifle round, it looked like, and had a couple of wounds in the stomach. He was, during the grave registration, he was getting, while they were checking him out, tagged and everything, he was getting the last rites. And I was tagging his toe. He moved it, found out he was alive. He in a coma for about 2 months. Came out of it. He died in 96, I think. 1996.
Did you guys talk about the war together?
Not that much. He didn't. I might mention something, he'd brush it off. He didn't want to talk about it.
Do you have a picture of him maybe later you can share with me?
Oh, yeah.
You can send it to me.
Later day.
Yeah. That's okay. You can send nothing back during Korea. No pictures of him.
No pictures.
Like with you.
I had some pictures from Korea, and but
was Leonard older than you?
yes, I was the youngest, and he was 2 years older than I was. He joined in 1947 in the Marines, and
maybe that's why you went in, huh?
well, yeah, he was there, and he.
Did you look up to him?
Definitely, yes. We fought a lot, but still respected him quite a bit.
What a story. Tell me about you getting wounded. Where were you and what happened?
This was after 9/02. We had about 60 straight days of going after moving on the Chinese forces, kept driven. We were moving toward, it's called a punch bowl. It was about a 6-mile wide valley and looked like something from another planet. Its topology was very strange, very jagged rocks, high cliffs, and that was our target over probably the next 60 days. And it was combat just about every day if we moved nonstop. If you were battalion reserve companies, you still had patrols every day. And moved on up, and this was got into June the 2nd. We ended up getting prepared to launch a pretty good move that day with all of 1st Marine Regiment. And lo and behold, 3rd Battalion Command Post got a hit again. Artillery, they had casualties. We lost some company commanders and things. So that held the attack back one day. Overnight or early the next morning, we were to jump off, move out, started getting mortar rounds. We had a rice paddy in front of us we had to get across, and we heard a registering. They were marking the Chinese with their mortars. And it's interesting, we got out there, and fortunate, when we went out, we were taking lead again, Howe Company, and there was, it was foggy. We had a lot of fog. And we were told just to be as quiet as possible getting across. And halfway through, the fog lifted. There we were out in the open, but nothing, no mortars. We went on, advanced up the hill, and up the hill, it got, we started getting some fire, and off to the, I could see moving up to our right, mortar section was setting up, seeing a couple of guys climbing up trees, machete, K-bar, whatever, clearing branches to, it was our mortars setting up, and going up the trail, I just tried to catch my breath and stepped off to the side. And about that time, guy that stepped out in front of me, go around me, he goes flying into me. He got hit, like some burp gun fire or something hit him. We ended up in a sort of in a little gully. I landed on my hip on the canvas. I'm kind of sore, but there was blood all over the place. I didn't know if I was hit, if I was alive or what. But pretty soon I found out I was okay. Sergeant, they're screaming for corpsmen, stretchers and everything, and checking me, and I'll keep telling them, no, I'm okay. This is his blood, not mine. It was the guy that was stepping in front of me got hit. And I found out later, we all thought he was dead, but I found out a couple months later he did live, he did survive. And I did know him. We stood watch a few nights earlier, and he was from Oklahoma. And we went up that day. It was mostly bunkers, 2 or 3, and firefight lasted probably about 4, 5 hours. It was long. We burned 2 barrels that day. It was really long. Felt like days. And
So you were shot or shrapnel? What happened to you?
well, toward the end of that deal, as we cleared the hill, we moved to another position a little bit, and we started getting mortar fire and a little bit of grenades thrown at us, and got a mortar round, came close. Got 3 of us. It was the man I was partnered with all the time on the machine gun. His name was Carlos Gambino from New Orleans. And him and I were hit. I forget who the other person was. Gambino was hurt pretty good. I had shrapnel mostly in the hip, some in the chest and the arm. And Corbin checked me out. He said, no, there's not much he can do. He's just going to send me, he tagged me, send me down to Italian aid station. Down there they cleaned out, pulled out shrapnel that they could. There's a little bit of rocks, material that they took out too to swab you out. Mercurochrome, monkey blood or whatever we called it, and cleaned me up. Left some of the shrapnel, small pieces close to the surface. That stuff would work its way out in a week or so. And but after that, I thought it was over with, but here comes a guy with a big syringe. Looks like a long #1 Phillips screwdriver on the end of it. That thing was huge. This was, they call battlefield penicillin or something. It needed minimum refrigeration, and it would liquefy pretty much with little body warmth or something. And of course I was told, drop them. I got one in the hip. That was miserable. And he told me I'll get one tomorrow too. A couple of hours later and things settled down. I picked up my gear, went back to the company. And that was, yeah, Later on, they told me I was AWOL, but the squad leader said, "Don't worry about it." Went on.
Don, tell me about the picture of you getting your Purple Heart. Who's given that to you, and where was that taken at?
That's a Major General. I forget. He was I know he was head of Fleet Marine Force. That was given to me at Oak Knoll Naval Hospital. As a fairly large ceremony today. A lot of them. There was 5 of us selected, or 4 of us that I can remember. There was 1 Marine officer, 1 corpsman, 1 NCO, and me. He gave out the Purple Heart. But on mine, I did go back, and later on in June, this was around June 2nd, June the 3rd, when this happened. Had firefight there, and we kept advancing toward Punch Bowl, and that was a strategic position that we wanted to take. So we ended up we were this was late June. We went out on a combat patrol, platoon size, and by then I had advanced, through attrition. I ended up on the machine gun. Had my MOS 0331 given me then, and we were out on patrol. We got into pretty heavy firefight. We found out regiment had sent us, we were overextended. We went too far out, and had a pretty good firefight. After, and on the way back, is probably just about back. We got hit by some 120 millimeter Russian mortars, and me, I didn't hear it. All I done is felt for an instant I was on fire, and I woke up, I don't know, sometime later, back at camp. People trying to talk to me. I seen lips moving, my ears ringing, nose bleeding. And so at that point I was sent back down to Battalion Med. They took their ambulance to a field hospital. 3 or 4 days there. Found out I had a sort of fractured hip and some concussion. And spent about 2 or 3 days at the field hospital. Then we boarded DC-3 to Seoul, and from there boarded a hospital ship. What was interesting, carried up the gangway there on the ship, a lot of commotion, people hooping and hollering. The war's over, they surrendered, everything. It's sounded good, but it's really all it was a ceasefire. And that was a situation that I figured, at least for an instant there, I'd stayed to the end. But
so when did you get out of Korea? When was your combat over? When you were wounded?
Well, that was it. And on board ship in the ward there. Next day, they were giving out stationery to all of us and we were to write home and tell our families, our parents, and that everything is fine, and we'll be back stateside probably in about a month, and which is good. Because there were so many casualties, I think it was part of a political deal. They did not want to disturb the public too much, so that took down a lot of it there. We ended up. I stayed on the ship probably for probably a week, then got transferred to U.S.M.C. Naval Hospital for more recoup. Got off the crutches, got on a stick for a while, and from there we went did board planes probably 3 or 4 weeks later to go back stateside. First stop was Wake Island, and from there next stop was Pearl Harbor, and stayed there in one of the Army hospitals there in Pearl Harbor because there's sort of a lot of casualties waiting to be going back, so it didn't have enough planes. So about 3 days later, landed at Travis Air Base, ended up at Oakland Naval Hospital in Oakland for recoup. Of course, first, I think the next day did see a psychiatrist to check us over. And me, I had nothing to say, and of course didn't go good. I found out later just about everybody was the same. And they check you about 2 weeks later. It was a little better.
Yeah.
Managed to communicate a little bit more. But that was it.
Have you had any problems over the years, nightmares or thinking about it, or
No.
PTSD, anything like that?
No. What they did, we were kept so busy through try to get you do hobbies. I'd done, puzzles. We had movies. They kept us going. We didn't have much time to, and this was part of recuperation.
But during combat, though, I mean, that affects you. I mean, that changes you, right?
It does.
At that young age,
and yes, fear. I mean, unbelievable fear. But
when you see your buddies wounded and being killed, what is that? That changes you.
It does, and like I say, I had my share of size, Lieutenant Sullivan, and I lost a cousin there. He was in Howe Company also, James Yanka from Luling, Texas, and he noticed my name. He was Czech, and so am I. We got along pretty good. We'd talk a little Czech and that stuff. We checked. Yeah, he had some relatives in Fayette County. I grew up, and we exchanged a lot of information. And one day I was going out. This was the middle of June there, and all activity. Wanted to go check out, see how he's doing. I asked, what was James? I was told, didn't you hear? I hear what? Well, James got killed yesterday. That was that. About 3 or 4 days later, another friend, Alan McQuarrie from Boston. I had my trouble with my shoes, and Alan was the guy that worked to get me a good pair of shoes. And that's part of the history, H31, me and my shoes. So, yes.
I'm going to start winding down. I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Yes.
What does freedom mean to you?
I live in a country, have freedom. We have a constitution. We have the citizen has Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to carry, bear arms, freedom of religion, and that it's freedom. There's other countries have, yes, they have some of this, and in history there have been countries like the I'm familiar with the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. That was known as the Holy Roman Empire. The monarchy ruled very, very well. No wars. They ruled for about 300 years. They expanded usually by marriage. So there was no wars. They expanded that way. Yes, countries have some of our freedoms, but as a whole package, no.
What about the American flag? What does that mean and represent to you as a veteran?
As they say, it's a symbol. It's something we gather under sporting events, a lot of events. We all stand, honor the flag, respect.
Have people thanked you for your service during Korea?
Yes, and I thank them in return for their service, because they're citizens, they have families, they have jobs, their education, everything. Yes, I thank for their service. Our service would be no good if couldn't thank them.
I want to get a copy of that telegram. I guess your mom got when you were wounded?
Yes.
I'd like to get a copy of that sometime.
Yes. And
that'll be good. And you said it was hard on her, huh? On your mom, you boys being in the military, in combat.
yes, I have, my dad was, of course, World War I as a Teamster, and I have my brother. Oh, okay.
What I'm going to ask you a question. What got you through the hard times during combat? Was it your faith? Was it your training, or both?
It was the training. Like say, the job of boot camp is to break you and remold you into what the Corps wants. Discipline, and that was the big part. And you ordered, do something, you did. You didn't question.
Did you ever talk with your sons about joining the military, or is that something that they never wanted to do?
No, I didn't necessarily want them to. My oldest son did join the Air Force, put in 4 there. Then I have a grandson, Sean. He was in the Marines. And Mike over here, he had been in the service, except when he was little, he had asthma so bad we thought we'd lost him 2 or 3 times. He really had a rough go at it, but he enjoyed some military life. He was in ROTC in high school. Enjoyed a few trips to Lackland Air Force Base, and so.
So tell me about your health. How are you doing? Got any health concerns right now?
Right now, I'm just doing the 3rd stage cancer. First stage was had a bladder tumor removed. That was a manual carcinoma. The next one was a anemia. I lost so much blood, and got that straightened up with blood transfusions and things.
So do you have?
I'm in the third one, which is I had a spot on the lung. I've taken, let's see, 16 sessions of radiation.
On your lung?
Yes, on the lung.
How'd that come out? Okay.
I will find out this coming Tuesday.
Okay.
And I got another one coming up. I have an ear problem that's, I'm on blood thinners. And even a paper cut, I'll bleed a lot. So, and this has been going on a while, so they're going to take a sample of that.
So if I can ask, do they give you a prognosis of any kind, or?
No, I'm hoping for a good one on the lung deal with radiation.
Okay.
And all indications are right now that has been successful.
Good. I hope it's a long ways away, but what do you want your family to remember about you someday when you are gone?
I loved them. I thank God I was so fortunate. I was blessed.
And
Out of devotion, St. Michael, patron saint of the Marines. I know a lot of that surviving came through him.
I have a letter that was read at a Marine reunion, I think back in the 50s, of an encounter of a soldier with St. Michael or Marine.
Yes.
And it was powerful.
Yes, I read that. Yes, that was one of few. I'm sure things like that were even a chosen. St. Michael had something to do with some of that. Diversions.
Are you Catholic?
Yes, traditional Catholic.
Can you do me a favor? Correctly pronounce your last name.
That's Jalufka.
Jalufka.
Yes.
I've been saying it wrong. Thank you for telling me.
It's break it down. You can break it down in syllables.
I said Jalufka, sorry.
But that's partially right too. In Czech, it's Jalufka.
Okay.
The J is pronounced as a Y.
Okay. Okay. Have you seen the end of my videos?
Yes.
Do you know what I ask the veterans to do at the end?
Yes.
Is that okay if I ask you to give a salute into the camera? I know protocols covered standing up, but for the sake of the camera, could you look into the camera? And whenever you're ready, if you want to say something, if not, just look into the camera and give a salute. Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
God bless you.
Benny.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry, so much. You're a godsend.
I want to thank you on camera for serving our country. God bless you, Don Jalufka or Jalufka?
Jalufka is fine.
And it's been a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you very much, Larry.
My heart's full, and I know a lot of my YouTube viewers are going to enjoy watching your story.
Yes.
And it's going to live on longer than you and I.
Yes, I know.
It will.
That's why I appreciate this.
Well, I have so much love for my Marines, and you're one of my guys now.
Yeah. thank you.
Okay.
One of yours.
Okay. Let's just look into the camera with me and let's both give a smile.